Welcome to Under Two Capes, the only show that knows that the SnyderVerse must be restored. Otherwise, we'll be really angry. I'm Jared.
And I'm Lad.
And today we're talking about many different topics. We're going to start off talking about who we want to see in Doctor Strange and who we think could show up, who we might not want to show up. And then we're going to transition over talking about why the SnyderVerse is so great, because apparently DC fans are really still divided on that, even though Zack Snyder's Justice League was infinitely superior to whatever the hell was released in 2017. All right, so let's start off with Doctor Strange. Lad, who do you want to see show up in Doctor Strange?
So can we expand it to like Doctor Strange and potentially maybe Avengers, Secret Wars, or like other, so like kind of like going forward in the MCU, who what multiverse characters could we see show up? And I don't know, one thing people throw around a lot is the X-Men from the Fox universe. That's like 20 years of movies that a lot of people grew up with and connected with, and they could bring back Hugh Jackman or maybe even some of the other actors. There's so many people involved with the X-Men series.
Personally, I'm a big X-Men fan, so I would love for the X-Men to show up. And like for Wolverine to just a portal opens and then Wolverine just jumps out and like skewers someone with the claws.
No, a robot.
What?
Skewer a robot.
Okay, we can do a robot. Yeah. It's like the multiverse Ultron shows up and then he just goes, ah!
Yeah.
That'd be so dope. But do you think, okay, so in terms of X-Men, let's talk about that for a second. Do you think they'll do the younger X-Men from the newer series, or do you think they'll bring back because honestly, the way Marvel's been doing it with Spider-Man, I feel like they'll bring back the old people.
Really?
Older people, I mean.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, the older X-Men are classic. I kind of grew up with the newer guys, but I mean, I like the old guys too.
I grew up in the older one. I know I'm really dating myself with that one.
Yeah. Wolverine is, obviously like the pinnacle of the X-Men. He
only showed up for one of them.
I know, yeah.
I'm like, what? Well, technically he showed up in First Class, but that was just a brief cameo where he basically cursed out Professor Xavier and Magneto, as one would. But yeah, so personally, I think it would be cool if we saw like Ben Affleck's Daredevil. There's a rumor that he and Cavill are coming over to Marvel. Maybe this is when they bring in the Squadron Supreme, because they were supposed to in Loki.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only a rumor, but still, I got hyped up for a BS rumor. No.
That didn't happen in the end.
It's like Hyperion shows up and it's Zack Snyder's Hyperion. Zack Snyder is the cameo.
Yeah.
He shows up. He's holding the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
Anyway, so I honestly, seriously, who I think is going to show up is Toby and Andrew.
You think both of them?
I think both of them are going to show up.
Pretty bold to say.
I think both of them are going to show up. There's probably a Jared reaction.
I would say one max if you're going to actually bring back another Spider-Man. I feel like it's going to be. I don't think either of them are going to show up in Doctor Strange. I feel like it's too soon. I feel like it's too soon because they already just met Doctor Strange. For Secret Wars, if they do
just in a cameo, I'm not talking about like them being in the plot like they were in the Spider-Man movie. I'm talking about them. We'll see like their world and like a thing. Maybe we'll see a live action Miles Morales.
That'd be kind of cool.
Then I think we're gonna see like maybe Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
probably Patrick Stewart and or McAvoy, either one, because we know based on leaked concept art, which is leaked as in take it with a huge grain of salt. Professor X shows up in this movie. So I'm like, could it be there?
Could be. What if we got just like two versions of Professor Xavier or the old
they do the
Xavier.
Pointing meme?
Yeah. Well, what if we got like old Xavier with young Magneto or something like that? They did like
that would be cool.
They do like a little bit of a mix or something.
That'd be cool. That'd be really, I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
They do the really bad Phoenix from X-Men 3 to the a little better but not that good Phoenix from Dark Phoenix.
Let's bring the comic version of Phoenix
that destroys both of them.
Yeah, the X-Men TV show one.
That'd be so great. The X-Men cartoon shows up.
Yeah,
the portal opens, and it's actually cartoon. Yeah, exactly.
Anyone complain?
Deadpool, I think would be funny, and I'm serious about Deadpool. That would be interesting to show up. The portal opens and he just leans over. Oh. Hey, Cumberbatch.
Deadpool would actually Deadpool could work. I mean, they could make it. This is how he gets into the MCU because they're gonna do a Deadpool 3. So I mean, supposedly.
Watch it be in the post-credits scene.
Yeah.
He just flies through the portal. It's like, oh,
yeah, he could just show up through it and he's just there.
and then he tries to curse, but it bleeps out because it's the MCU,
Yeah.
and he's aware that he's being bleeped.
Yeah.
Like in that one Honest trailer, and he starts spouting out curses.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
They could do that. They could really. That could work.
There's lots of potential for who they could bring in here, because I'm thinking about which other Marvel character would you say would be like the big Norman Osborn, but the Iron Patriot.
That'd be cool. I wonder how much focus is going to be on Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch versus, evil Doctor Strange, and how much is it going to be characters from across the multiverse? Like, is it the focus just like
I
Evil
think it's
Strange
just going to be
chaos, like the monster stuff we saw?
Yes, I think it's going to be that, but
people?
but the people thing is just going to be fun cameos they throw in there. But I guarantee it, at one point, Wanda will go for her kids.
You think so?
Because that's what they teased at the end of WandaVision, when she's going through the dark hold, and then you hear her kids like crying in the background. So I think she's going to try and revive her kids. Unless you have anything to add, I think we can move on.
Yeah, that
All
sounds
right,
good.
SnyderVerse. Now, I'm a huge fan of the SnyderVerse.
I'm a pretty good fan of the SnyderVerse.
Okay, so we understand that this is very controversial with DC fans. Well, there are still fans who don't necessarily agree with Zack Snyder's creative choices.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, I might as well just address it. And
I mean,
I've gotten into Twitter arguments on people about the SnyderVerse.
I mean, I guess people could not like Man of Steel and BVS, but I feel like the Snyder Cut was more interesting than the theatrical version.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know how you could really argue it. If you just want to say that you don't want anything of those and you just want some of the new stuff, I guess. But I just the Snyder Cut was more interesting.
Here's the thing, I want to address that. So someone said, oh, Man of Steel is better because it wasn't written by Snyder. Here's the thing about Zack Snyder. When he works on a movie, he gets very involved in the creative process. So Snyder is still very much in the plot creating process. So first off, that argument goes right out the window. And second off, one argument I've heard about the SnyderVerse, that why did it take 3 movies and 4 hours to get Superman to this point? And I'm like, okay, so when you have a character as magnanimous, I'm trying to figure out the right words. It's been a while since I've been in college, but it's like, when you have a character of the magnitude of Superman, you want to build toward that, like that place where he's like this hopeful being, because first off, he's going through the struggle that everyone goes through in life, where they're like, can I be what everyone makes me out to be? Am I a hero? Because that way, when he gets to that point in like Zack Snyder's Justice League, he's overcome, like, first off, death. And he's overcome that darkness. And he even says to Lois, I have a second chance now. I'm not wasting it.
That's true.
So it's like you see Superman establishing himself. And second off, people are like, why did he kill Zod? He does so in the comics
why did he
all
kill
the
Zod?
time.
I want to know why he killed Zod.
He does in the comics all the time. There was no way to avoid it.
No one complains when Batman kills like everybody.
Oh, by the way,
movies.
people did complain about that. And guess what? Batman has killed in the comics and in every Batman movie. Literally, even in Batman Begins, he goes, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you, as a train goes off into a building. As you can tell, I'm really like, I even turned to my dad when we were watching that movie recently. I'm like, what the hell kind of type of logic is that?
I mean, because
aren't you still killing him by not saving him?
They're trying to make Batman edgier, so they make him kill people, even though like in the comics it should be more of a, he has more.
In the comics, he guarantee you he kills people.
Does he? I thought he's more strict.
Let me put it this way: they don't like show it. In other words, they don't highlight it, but he definitely kills. At least if it's like some like henchman, he has killed henchmen.
Oh, that's funny.
He just doesn't shoot people.
My argument that I have sometimes with like the Flash, like on CW, where he's like really strict about like not killing anyone or hurting anyone, right? Like, or even the villains. Remember, like he's like, no, you don't have to do this. I know what you're going through, something like that. And the villain's like, oh, you do? And then he's just like, I'm not gonna do this.
You do care.
And they should make the villain, like I'm telling you, season 8 finale. The villain should be like really like epic and awesome, but then he should be like, oh, you know what I'm going through? He just stops his evil plan so they can save like the budget on like the final battle. They don't have a final battle.
All it is just a conversation. Well, let me put it this way: I could legitimately see the CW doing that. So Don't tempt them, lad.
Yeah, exactly.
But and
just throw Reverse Flash in there, and then it'll fix
It was
everything.
me, Barry.
It was me, Barry. Yeah.
But another thing people critique Snyder for is the general dark tone of his movies. And first off, I'm like, Batman '89, people hail being super dark.
That's like the first Batman movie.
Wonder
right?
Woman 1 arguably was a dark movie. She's going through World War I, people getting their legs blown off.
It was pretty violent. I mean, she fought people on the battlefield and she killed the one general dude. I forget his name, but
remember when Steve Trevor died and she like annihilated that squad of German soldiers? I'm like, the heck?
They weren't hurt.
I got into an argument with someone online, because that's what I like doing in my free time, that these movies have to be made for kids first. And first off, I'm like, that mentality is why superheroes were so like niche for so many years. You have to appeal to more than just kids here. You have to apply to the general audience, because otherwise this stuff will not grow.
Like an individual movie or across like a franchise.
Both.
Because
here's the thing. Here's what you have to realize at this point. The reason why superheroes got as big as, like this way, if even Marvel makes very mature movies. Iron Man kills people in Afghanistan.
I guess we kind of
he blasted them into a wall.
Well, they were terrorists.
Well, yeah, but my point is,
but then like a Cap Falcon is like, I can't hurt the terrorist.
A shield at somewhere. I guarantee you. I guarantee you, it hit someone in the neck once and probably broke their neck.
No,
my point is that, let me put it this way: George Clooney's Batman movie. Take that for example. That was clearly marketed toward kids.
Really?
Yes, and in fact, funny story, by the way. So the reason why Michael Keaton was not in that movie, actually, I think it was
the one before it also.
Yeah, Val Kilmer. It was the Val Kilmer one. Was because he got into an argument with Schumacher. Schumacher says, "Why do these movies have to be so sad and glum?" And then Keaton's like, "Have you ever heard of Batman?" His parents are. This is what I told people when Wonder Woman came out. This was after BVS. People, NPR was like, Batman versus Superman should have been like this. It's so hopeful and up. And I'm like, have you seen Batman? These are the people that just review movies and don't know anything about the characters. Second off, with the dark tone, it's just like, that's DC Comics. These things haven't been very up and positive since Crisis on Infinite Earths.
They need to reboot again.
You can have the Happy Universe.
Yeah.
But you can have, let me put it this way, Zack Snyder's Justice League arguably was very positive because it was building toward that point when Superman came back.
Right.
Everything got positive. You saw the end of the movie, everyone's like happy.
Yeah.
Flashes and Naruto running.
Yeah. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Is that the theme song?
No, that's the Endor like celebration music.
But my point is that, well, let me put it this way, superhero movies should not be dark. Says who? Let me put it this way, Joker.
The movie?
I mean the movie, not the character. The movie.
They should have
really dark.
They should have made it more kid
popular it
friendly.
was.
They should have made it more kid friendly.
It's like Cesar Romero's Joker.
Yeah.
CGI
I
in
would
there.
love that.
But I'm like, what you have to realize is that I get that you want some sense of nostalgia back when comic books were like super like up and Superman was dragging a solar system on a chain.
Yeah, that was good times.
Which that was hilarious and very comic booky. But what I'm saying is that if you keep in that, there's a reason why comic books left that sensibility behind. Because guess what? That's not marketable to people anymore. Because if they stay purely in that, there's no way this stuff would be as popular as it is today. Even comic books are still niche.
Yeah, that's true.
Which they shouldn't be. Which I blame the movie makers, by the way, tangent, because the people who make these movies, Marvel Studios and Warner Brothers, could solve the comic book crisis easily. Here's what they do. At the end of every movie, they say, if you want to watch more Batman, if you want more on Batman, go to your local comic book shop. Literally, that's it. Just a card at the end of the movie after the post-credits scene that just says, "Hey," I guess because they know people are going to wait for the end of the post-credit scene.
I wonder, that's actually a good point. I wonder how much revenue Marvel gets from its comic books compared to its merchandise.
Nowhere near
TV shows and movies.
Both, neither.
Like, are comic books even profitable? Like in comparison to the rest of their, I mean, they make money, but
but they're not as profitable as the movies.
As the movies, right?
That's why these essentially become IP farms for everything.
Right.
Basically, what they are is we test the ideas that we're going to throw into the movie.
Right, and also help retain licensing and
yeah, because otherwise they lose all the rights to these characters.
Yeah, that's true.
Which that's sad because you know what, it should be the other way around, really. And they could easily make comic books more popular than they are today. They're still remarkably popular from what I've seen, but there could be so much more.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be very niche. In other words,
I think it's also going to be a cultural shift. There's so many more people that are into comic books and superheroes in general in our generation.
Thanks to the MCU. And as much as as I'm a DC fan, I will give credit where credit's due. It's because of Marvel and the MCU making these characters mainstream that I could show up in a Batman t-shirt and not get made fun of. So I'm like, thank you, Kevin Feige and Favreau.
Yeah, the MCU really has had like an impact like that. I think that like in the next 20 years, when our generation kind of becomes more like adults and we have children, that kind of snowballs a little bit, like where it's gonna be more mainstream to be into comic books and comic book movies, superheroes. Like that'll be, like it's very like, classy to be into like Shakespeare or into, classical works.
Helping the sports jacket with a pipe going, allow me to tell you a story about the JLA.
Right. I mean, those stories like about Romeo and Juliet, or just like, classic works like The Raven by Edward Allan Poe, like all these stories that, we read in like English classes that are like, oh yes, study, all this Huckleberry Finn. Those are classics and we've continued through our history. The same thing's gonna happen with comic books, especially with so much publicity we're having nowadays and the superheroes in general.
On that note, it'd be hilarious if like 10 years down the line, like in English class, people like reading Final Crisis and still not understanding it.
Yeah.
And the professor's like, I still don't know what the hell Grant Morrison was saying.
Exactly. I mean,
that'd be great.
A comic book is a legitimate form of media. There's storytelling and stuff.
You lucky dog. You had an English class where they analyzed the first Captain America comic. I'm like, we're gonna take this class.
That was a fun class. That was a great class.
I got the boring one.
Yeah.
He got the comic book one.
That was great.
Is this the one that gave you extra credit for seeing Black Panther?
It was actually. I got extra credit for that.
I wish I took these classes. I wrote an academic paper for a class that was the politics of comic books. So the problem is that at least in the academic world, this stuff is seen as very children oriented and all that stuff. And it took me a year and a half to convince my parents that this was not like picture books. And this was more than that. Yeah. Because for some reason, only kids can read picture books.
Yeah.
But I'm like, have you read Blackest Night? There's no way kids can.
Well, a movie is just a moving picture. Exactly. It's a motion picture. That's what a movie is.
Like, if you read, let me put it this way: all the movie plots that you see are more or less based on this.
Yeah.
So these really mature stories, I'm like, oh.
But it's kind of funny, right? Because I mean, like when cinema was coming out, I feel like a lot of people were saying that people that watch movies are kind of foolish. People still say nowadays quite a bit like you should read the book first, and kind of criticize people that watch movies.
Well,
but movies are so mainstream now that it's just considered that is the normal culture. The same thing can happen with
reading the book first. I can understand because oftentimes the movie bastardizes the book.
No. That is a fair point.
It still happens in comic books too, but I'm like, that's the one part where I'm like, yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
As someone that read like Ender's Game and Percy Jackson,
okay,
I'm like, okay,
those movies.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, even Harry Potter. I think. I mean, I didn't read the first book. I couldn't get. See, here's the problem. I know I'm gonna take heat for this. I found it very boring. I'm not a Harry Potter guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lord of the Rings was way better. Even that was changed significantly.
Yeah, they had to do some stuff. I mean, it's a great read. But it's intense.
Back to the topic. So that's my thing about the SnyderVerse. People are like, well, it's too dark. I'm like, every superhero movie for the most part has been dark to a certain degree. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Superman.
That was dark?
First off, Superman grows basically in not this type of beard, that'd be glorious. He basically goes. He basically has an existential crisis and goes, "Leave me alone, everyone."
Really? He's become bully
McGuire, Bully Clark. There you go.
Bully Clark, yeah.
Bully Ken. But my point is that if you don't like DC to be dark, can't read Batman, can't read Wonder Woman, because let me put it this way: Wonder Woman definitely kills people. She's a warrior.
Yeah.
Have you seen Wonder Woman? It's like, here's the thing. Here's my problem with Patty freaking Jenkins is that in Wonder Woman 1984, she's like, I need to give her the sword and the shield. I think that's too aggressive. Did you see her in World War I?
Yeah, when she was fighting in wars. If you want to be a warrior, you fight in wars.
She's an Amazonian warrior.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing is that
it's a pacifist.
My problem is that, oh my God, she was trying to make the Christopher Reeves movie, but for Wonder Woman, but it turned out not working because they're two fundamentally different characters. You cannot do this. Plus the fact it felt very much detached in tone and all that stuff from the Wonder Woman one. I know we're getting off topic a lot, but that's what we normally do on this podcast.
Yeah.
But anyway, Okay, so lad, let me ask you this. I know that you have sort of a love-hate relationship with dark superhero movies, but what do you think about the SnyderVerse in comparison to the other DC movies and properties in terms of darkness?
It was definitely was it daunting? No, it was it like surprised me when I first saw it. Like when I first saw like BVS, I was surprised by how like the darkness of it. But like now watching it again, like it's just really awesome to see that different tone compared to what I've seen like with Marvel, with usually a bit more there's serious stuff, but usually a lot more comedic, and I really enjoy that. That's kind of fun, but the serious tone is really, you know, makes a good movie.
Yeah, which okay, so I blame Marvel for here's one thing to blame the MCU for. Is because they put it in everyone's mind that superhero movies are always supposed to be
comedic,
making the really bad Joss Whedon era jokes.
Yeah,
I still hate you, brother.
DC kind of like copies that a little bit sometimes.
But here's the thing: you saw what happened when they tried to copy it. It's called the Whedon cut. That didn't turn out so well.
That's fair.
But it's like, and people realize when you watch BVS, it got hopeful at the end. He regained his faith in humanity and then died at the hands of Doomsday, sacrificing himself. So I'm like, here's the problem. This stops being like a criticism of Zack Snyder's art and just comes to I hate Zack Snyder. Nothing he does is ever good. At that point, I'm like, okay, so we can't really have a discussion because we know that you're just going to ignore all these other points. Right. And here's the thing. People say he doesn't understand the comics. Have you ever seen all the comic book references this dude throws in this movie to the point where you have to pause each movie every frame practically?
Right, yeah.
The Omega symbol, the Lex Luthor's like prison uniform is actually a Star Wars reference.
Really?
Remember the dude in BVS who was holding a flamethrower to Martha? That's KG Beast.
Oh, really?
You don't know who KG Beast is?
No.
It's this weird Batman villain. But by the way, that movie was actually... BBS I'm talking about, legitimately like practically frame by frame Dark Knight Returns. That's why I always tell people also, he's not doing the mainstream DC universe. He's pretty much doing the Frank Miller's world. And I get it. A lot of people have some, the only people that like that ironically are Superman, Wonder Woman fans. How you doing, family? Or Batman fans.
Yeah.
But I'm like, because again, people don't like dark superhero movies, but I'm like,
I would have liked to at least finish that vision before we move on to something else.
We know at some point they're gonna let him do it at the merger. Because here's the thing: we're in no way am I saying cancel all the other movies and just let Snyder take over. I'm just saying HBO Max. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can fail at the box office. Give us this one thing on HBO Max. That's all we want. HBO Max. Let me this way. Here's what I tell people: you hate Snyder so much. The sooner he completes his vision, he's gone forever.
Yeah,
I guarantee you he won't be coming back to Warner Brothers if they let him do the rest of his movies.
Just do the 2 movies. We don't care about the spinoffs anymore. We've given up on those.
You can't even do it back to back and just say we're done. See you later. No, the spinoffs can still happen. But on HBO Max, what I'm saying is that Zack Snyder specifically, because the HBO Max like Deathstroke movie was not directed by Snyder. Let me put it this way: you wouldn't have Snyder's directorial vision because his vision's done. He will leave.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the sooner you let him do this, the sooner you're good. You're good. But I'm like, I'm against the whole thing where like, this gets into my like critique of comic book fandom, which is kind of hypocritical in a sense because, and Lad and I knows for sure, is that comic book fandom is constantly like, DC and Marvel, they never do new things. They're constantly rehashing the same thing over and over and over again. Then guess what? Whenever DC or Marvel tries something new, everyone's like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is why they don't do new stuff. Because you guys freak out when they do it. So I'm like, either you, I'm like, pick one. If you want to keep rehashing stuff, fine. You can have your Christopher Reeves era irrelevant storyline.
Yeah, Christopher Reeves.
Or you can have your more creatively diverse, your more visually diverse. Which, by the way, go back to Dark Tones. Speaking of what you said about Batman vs Superman, that's really a Batman movie. It's more or less not a Superman movie.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why it's dark.
Right.
Particularly when you're doing that iteration of Batman who has machine guns on his car.
They're tranquilizer machine.
Oh no, they're not. You saw the car explode. In Justice League, he had an artillery cannon on the car. I don't understand the physics of that. Lad, you're the engineer of the group. When he fires that, wouldn't that cause the car to like flip backwards?
Yeah, there should be some major. There's driving forward is gonna be a problem if he's firing at the same time.
I know. I'm like, wait, what? It'd be so hilarious if as he's driving forward, he's like, boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
It won't be a smooth ride. We'll say that.
It definitely won't be a smooth ride.
Yeah. But okay, one thing I think we need to address then is, given the topic of Snyder and darkness in supervillain movies, where does the Batman stand in all this? The upcoming Batman movie, because they're doing the darkest version. No, I don't know if it could be the darkest version of Batman, just a new take on it that it looks really.
But everyone's so excited for that, and it's super dark, and I'm like, guys. The same people who criticize Snyder for being too dark in a Batman movie, which is basically Batman vs Superman. So I'm like, pick one.
Yeah,
pick one.
I mean, honestly, he kind of it seemed like darker tone than BVS.
Oh my gosh!
Like
yes.
the first trailer I saw, like it looked like Blade Runner. Like it looked like
that's actually a good point.
Like when they show that first scene where it's like I think the Riddler in the cafe, like that window with the dark and the lights, that looked like straight out of Blade Runner.
And the Batmobile chase scene, it looks like the Blade Runner car. So I'm like, that's actually a good point. I never thought of that.
It looks so gritty, and like I feel like I don't even see the citizens. It's more just like Batman against the underworld, and it's just like you see there's like no humanity in him. He's just like he says he's like a monster, right? Like,
and that's the plot of the movie. Is getting his humanity. So yeah, I like that. And that's another one of my issues. So Warner Brothers, this is my problem with Warner Brothers. So they keep They didn't like what Snyder was doing with the characters. They think he was ruining their characters. But yet you have James Gunn doing Peacemaker and having a character swearing up a storm, blasting Justice League.
Yeah.
Like making a mockery of the characters.
To be fair, they can't make a sequel, so maybe they deserve.
And then they're complaining that Snyder's films are too dark. Matt Reeves' Batman movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm not complaining about Matt Reeves' Batman movie because it fits the tone of the character.
Yeah.
And the first trailer completely eliminated all doubts I have of Robert Pattinson. So I'm like, that's beyond the point. My point is, everyone is so hypocritical when it comes to the SnyderVerse and DC movies. Do you agree with me on that?
I mean, it depends. It's like the same crowd of people that
crowd of people are saying Snyder's too dark. I'm so excited for the Batman.
Yeah, I kind of thought that this kind of seems not cool, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of people are excited for Batman, but I don't.
Rightly so. It looks amazing.
But like, I feel like I wonder why they don't like the vision that Snyder had for the Justice League and stuff like that.
But guess what? I'm sorry, I didn't
mean. No, that's it.
But here's the thing. When they released Zack Snyder's Justice League, by the way, it wasn't even a Warner Brothers decision. It was AT&T. Yeah. They never wanted to release it, but AT&T said, release or you're fired.
Was AT&T really kind of pushing that?
They were the ones that said, release it.
It was for HBO because
they wanted
HBO
Max because they needed content. They're like, release the Snyder Cut now.
That's actually kind of, I forgot about that. That wasn't even really Warner Brothers.
It wasn't
on their own, they wouldn't have done it.
They wouldn't have done it. In fact, there are articles saying we have no plans to release the Snyder Cut on HBO Max. And AT&T is like, oh yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that's basically like a free movie. Like you just fix it a little bit and you're gonna.
Yeah, it was pretty much fixed. But with the Snyder Cut, here's the interesting thing. Yeah. Warner Brothers thought, okay, release the Snyder Cut, then people will definitely not like his vision now. They'll see where he's going. They'll hate it.
But
the opposite happened. In fact, when Snyder Cut came out for like a week, you know what was trending? I was wrong about Zack Snyder. Because once you see where he was going, you're like, I get it now. I actually do want to see that. At least I want to see the dude complete his artistic vision because yes, he completed Justice League, not over yet. He still has the plans. And Snyder himself and people are like, Snyder's done with Warner Brothers. People have asked him, if Warner Brothers called you up and said, do you want to come back and finish the movies? He goes, let's go.
Yeah.
So it's not like he doesn't want to. Ray Fisher says he wants to. And if you say Ben Affleck's done with Batman, he said he was done with superhero movies after Daredevil.
Yeah.
He showed up as Batman. So I'm like, he's known for changing his mind.
I mean, we're going to have to, are we going to get another Justice League movie eventually? Like, or when are we going to get it? Like, it's not even on the docket. Like, they're going to have to do another Justice League movie eventually because that's like the Avengers of DC, right?
Way better than the Avengers, but that's the point.
Yeah. And the question is, are they going to call it Justice League 2? Are they going to
Justice League 2? That'd be hilarious.
That was a mistake.
That would be so
I did not
great.
mean to say that.
No. That's not like your Lois Lane thing.
Yeah.
This is actually funny.
Justice League. Justice League.
They call it Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah, Justice League. Yeah. No. I mean, will they use any of the same characters or plot lines, or will they just basically call it the Justice League and basically make it like a soft reboot with all the new characters that they have there?
Rumors are true that they're replacing Batman with Batgirl. I highly doubt that's going to happen because first off, Batman is the cash cow of DC. They're not. The minute they include Batman in that rumor, I'm like, Grace Randolph is lying. Big surprise. She always lies. But
if Affleck is leaving though.
He'll be back.
Who's gonna play Batman?
Here's what I think is gonna happen. I think that in the mainstream DC, I think that on HBO Max they'll bring back Ben Affleck and say, just do whatever you want here. And then I think either they'll do we know it's not gonna be Pattinson because Matt Reeves has said I don't want to be part of like a shared universe. It gives me more creative freedom to not do this. I'm like, oh, okay, that's totally fine. And the movie looks freaking amazing.
Big enough to have their own like world. Like they're making the TV show.
And now they understand that you can have multiple Batman. People will differentiate it.
Yeah, I think people understand.
But honestly, I think that in terms of Batman, I think they'll just have Keaton be like the Nick Fury Batman. I don't think they'll have a Batman. Yeah. In other words, an actually outward Batman, which that could be what she means by Batgirl is going to replace Batman. We'll get a Batgirl movie instead of a Batman movie, which I can get that. Which that's fine. The other part that I don't believe is they're replacing Superman with Supergirl. Let me put it this way. They aren't doing that because if they do that, no one cares about Batgirl or Supergirl in comparison to Batman and Superman.
Like they're much more popular.
They're derivative characters of the dudes.
Yeah, I think those characters.
That's how you know that rumor is not going to happen. Because also, we've made the joke that Batman literally finances DC Comics.
Yeah.
That's why you have 80 Batman comics.
Yeah, they're like, Batman, Batwoman, Batgirl.
Yeah.
Robin.
Bat blank.
Yeah, just like.
It's going to be Bat book.
Yeah, it'd
be cool if the omnibus for any Batman book says Batnibus.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how you know it's not going to happen. So what I think is that in the HBO Max world, they'll say, Snyder, that's your playground. Do what you want there. And then in theatrical, we'll do our own thing. Obviously, we would love to have Snyder stuff on theatrical, but let me put it this way. If we have to choose to having it solely on streaming, we're not having it at all. Guarantee you won't like it here. Also,
we'll just rent the movie theater and play.
You could do that.
Stuff. Yeah.
But also what they could do, now, they could also bring it back as a comic book.
That'd be fun.
And then here's what they could do. Use that to justify there's an audience for this and then make it into a movie.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Because as we saw with Zack Snyder in Final Crisis, he could sell a damn comic book. Watch, just put him in charge of like marketing DC Comics. He just has it like in the background here. And then watch sales.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that was really suspicious. But that
it's like conveniently in his picture with his. Why is that in a picture with the Thanksgiving turkey if it's not like, particularly when you look at the storyline of his Justice League, it's eerily similar but more comprehensible than Final Crisis.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would love to actually ask Snyder, do you actually understand that storyline? If so, can you please explain to me? Because I have no idea what's going on here. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. Now, okay, so, and I know, so loud, but in terms of the darkness of the DC movies, do you really think his universe is too dark?
I mean, now seeing some of the movies we're getting, like Joker and Batman, and even maybe the Suicide Squad,
Suicide Squad was the James Gunn Suicide Squad was in no way dark.
I mean, well, in terms of the maturity of like killing people.
Oh yeah,
like, and I guess it wasn't
Swaying
dark
up a storm,
right?
I'm talking about in this type of dark, tonal dark.
Tonal dark. I mean, we're getting movies like Batman and Joker and stuff. I mean, I feel like it fits in now more than ever. Just maybe it was too early for people to accept it. Not
even, because if you read the New 52, which was about the era that this was happening, that was pretty much back.
Yeah.
The DC has always been the darker storyline for in terms of the big two. Marvel's been the more comedic thing. That's why the general movie audience does not get. And by the way,
I don't think the Marvel movie audience realized the comic books are pretty dark.
I know. I mean, have you read?
Yeah.
The David Blackest Night. Why is it so dark?
Yeah. It's like you're from the DC universe or something.
Yeah, are you from the DC universe? Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, and then people will say, well, but what about Shazam and Aquaman? Here's the thing. Snyder's Aquaman was already this much more happy guy. He was very much, well, not happy, but he's much more comedic than typical Aquaman. So that's already a pre-existing tone.
Yeah.
Shazam is always like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a boy.
Ultimately, it's very consistent with the character. Ultimately, even Snyder's Superman, very consistent with like the Superman from I'm leaning over Secret Origin or Earth One, where you have that Superman who's doubting of himself and his role in the world, and then eventually he comes to the realization that that it doesn't matter what other people think of me, I can be that hero.
Right.
In fact, even when Superman gets the black suit and he emerges, and Jor-El is saying, "You gave hope to this world, save it."
Right.
And there you go. It's because Superman has to build it, because my biggest problem with the Reeves movies is that Superman shows up and automatically everyone's welcoming.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm like
super
this dude has the
alien.
power of a god.
Yeah, super powerful alien just shows up and it's like, oh yeah,
yay! Well, I'm like, with Snyder, Superman had to earn the people's love and respect.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, it feels more earned when he shows up and the axe on the shoulder, which was, again, we've said this many times ad nauseum, this is the greatest Superman scene of all time.
It wasn't that impressive a moment. I mean, it was kind of.
I know we were kind of not impressed.
Yeah,
but okay.
Yeah.
We were very not impressed. Yeah. But anyway, that's generally how I'm going to address the dark tone. And then people always call Superman edgelord because of that whole scene where he's like doubting humanity. But if you're trying to help people and they're constantly telling you, well, he's a threat. He's a threat. We don't like him. He's a threat. Wouldn't you get a little doubtful of humanity's like goodness?
Right. And that's fair.
It's like that's part of the hero's journey, is that he goes through this period of struggle and emerges more what's the word? More hopeful, if you will, because of Superman. That's besides the point. Now, there is one valid criticism, which isn't on Snyder, it's just on the DCU, that they did the death of Superman again, because that's a storyline that DC constantly does. So
we haven't seen the movie before, but
we haven't seen the live action movie. They did a couple of
in the live action.
I can get, but here's the thing: when you look at it in terms of the narrative of the storyline, I get, and there were some people saying it happened too early.
Yeah,
but when you look at the narrative of the storyline, what it leads to, I disagree with that. Now, okay. So, all right, lad, you're the more, I don't want to say, you're the one of us that more enjoys the positive, like superhero worlds, correct?
Hopeful.
Yeah, the hopeful. Now, give me your like opinions of the SnyderVerse real quick, and then I'll give mine.
Yeah. So in terms of the SnyderVerse, like Man of Steel,
you've seen.
Right? I've seen all three of them. I've seen all three.
Have you seen?
No, I haven't seen the long edition of them.
Well, you saw the long edition of Justice League.
I haven't seen BVS long edition.
We have to watch that sometime.
Man of Steel, I watched that like on my computer at one point. I didn't see movie theater, but like that was really interesting movie because it was like first time, seeing a darker tone movie. Like especially for superheroes, darkish, more mature tone.
It was way less dark than BVS.
Yeah, I mean, watching that was really interesting. I thought it was an amazing movie. Like just seeing Superman. I mean, that was my Superman because I watched him and I thought it was really incredible. It seemed, it was dark and mature, but it was very hopeful at the same time. Like it wasn't like just dark for no reason, which I feel like the Matt Reeves movie kind of feels like a little dark for no reason.
So it's kind of like I can excuse that because it's Batman.
Right.
The whole character is dark.
No, that's fair. But like people say that Superman, like the movie was too dark and boring or too dark and edgy, but like it had the hopeful message and undertone going through it. That was like part of it, but it was like a serious and dark situation that the first movie was in.
Right. Now, pins on BVS.
So BVS was, I thought it was really fun because I just wanted to see Batman and Superman fight. I didn't really understand what was going on at all. And it was kind of confusing, but when I watched it the first time, I watched it a couple times later and it made sense. But
by the way, people complain about how short the Batman versus Superman fight scene is. That's exactly how long it is in the comics.
Yeah, I thought
it's not that long.
I thought it lasted a pretty long time in the
theater. Yeah, I know it lasted probably longer than the comics, but my point is that it's not this 2-hour long slugfest.
I kind of wish, no, that wouldn't have been good.
It would be, and that's normally how long a fight between Batman and Superman normally lasts.
Let's be real. I think most people were just kind of, they wanted to see a movie for that.
In their defense, the marketing made it like it was so much longer, and Zack Snyder had no control over the marketing.
Yeah.
So first off, he was supposed to he wanted to call it like Justice League Rising or like Dawn of Justice League. It wasn't supposed to be called Batman versus Superman, but Warner thought it wouldn't sell unless you call it Batman versus Superman.
I mean, Batman versus Superman is a good way to sell it.
No, it's a horrible title.
No, people love that.
Dawn of Justice.
I'm Dawn of Justice.
They could have called it just Dawn of Justice. That would be way better.
Batman versus Superman makes so much money. That's like printing money. Like having that in the title.
But can you imagine if they called it like blank blank Justice League?
Yeah, that would have been really good.
That would have been way better. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Although here's the problem with calling it Justice League. Only 3 members show up. Like actually show up.
But the 3 most important ones.
And my problem is with BVS marketing, again, they spoiled Wonder Woman is showing up. Again, Zack had no control of that because there's that scene where she comes off the plane and they go, excuse me, Miss Prince. Yeah. Can you imagine in the theater if they no indication Wonder Woman's showing up and all of a sudden you hear Miss Prince?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And then she comes down and you hear her music for the first time, which by the way is the best theme song. I could not have come up with a better theme song for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But anyway, so continuing on your pins of BVS.
BVS. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people came for the Batman versus Superman fight. Like that's what most people care about.
The warehouse fight.
And the warehouse fight. They didn't know that was coming.
That was
but that was so
Arkham.
good.
That was straight
great.
up in Arkham.
And Arkham, that was great. And I loved how Batman managed to do without even killing anyone at the end. Like he managed to keep.
He threw a grenade at someone.
It was a tranquilizer grenade.
He shot the dude in the back of the dude's propane tank.
It was a tranquilizer. Propane tank.
Tranquilizer propane. This is what I gotta deal with, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, so
wasn't that Matthew McConaughey that in that scene?
No,
that was I thought it was McConaughey that had the flamethrower.
No, it was a Russian.
I thought it was McConaughey.
So you weren't turned off by the obvious dark tone of BVS.
I mean, it wasn't like it was pretty dark. It had a dark tone in it, but like I thought it made sense to see, if we're gonna Batman and Superman fighting, like it wanted to be dark. Like it wouldn't be, hopeful movie. Like I felt like it made sense. Like it was cool. It was good like that. A
critique of BVS that I've also seen is that Lex Luthor's plan makes the whole Batman versus Superman fight pointless. That's the point.
I thought it's
supposed to be pointless in saying, why are you guys fighting each other when there's this larger looming threat? Right. I love how even Wonder Woman kind of addressed that in the movie. She goes, it's true what they say about little boys born with no natural inclination to share. All right, that scene where he's talking to her at the gala, that sold me on Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman because she got that wit. And by the way, and then what also sold it was then when she's fighting Doomsday and he knocks her back and then she just smiles.
Yeah,
that was improvised. That wasn't in the script. So I'm like, she gets it.
You're right. Right. No.
That first time, because I was coming off the Susan Eisenberg Wonder Woman, so I was like, got it. You're good. You're good. You can do it.
That's good.
And by the way, you wouldn't have Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, which everyone loved. You
I think she's really iconic. Yeah.
You wouldn't have all these versions of the characters that people love without Zack Snyder. I got news for you.
Yeah, I think Wonder Woman may have been the most iconic person to come out of all this. Aquaman is Aquaman. I think Aquaman is super. He's getting there.
Wonder Woman came out the most good because let me put it this way, her movie came out first.
Right, her movie came out first, and it
was rightfully really good.
Right, it was a solid. It was so good. It did everything.
Favorite female superhero movie.
It was so good. It was so good that you can actually make a good movie and female
superhero movie.
It was and not just copy a male tone,
not put down the male characters.
Right.
Look at you, Captain Marvel.
What's his, the love interest? I forget his name. All right, Trevor. He's Chris Pine, Captain Kirk.
He has chemistry with everyone he's ever saw. Isn't that interesting about Chris Pine? He can do a good scene with anyone.
Yeah. Chris Pine had an important role in it also.
As Steve Trevor too. As much as I can't stand the character of Steve Trevor, he was good.
Yeah, I loved how his character was. That movie was so good. I mean, that movie was peak.
The one scene I liked in Wonder Woman 1984 is when he shows up in the 80s. And
he's
like, oh wow,
that was funny. Yeah.
And the meme where it's it's all art, and then there's a Justice League on the trash can.
Yeah.
It's just a trash can. Okay, it's just a trash can. And him trying on the different clothes.
Yeah, that was
I was like, okay, that part I liked.
Yeah, that was.
And the golden armor was pretty cool. But that's it.
You didn't like the furry cheetah?
Okay, now we're gonna talk about that. No. I like the furry cheetah.
What?
Because that's what she looks like in the comics.
Jared is a furry confirmed.
No. Here's the thing. If you look at the character in the comics, she is an anthropomorphic cheetah.
Have you? I'm sorry. We need to look at Super Friends subject matter A. That's how they look.
I'll plug in the Super Friends.
Yeah, that's
Super Friends. Cheetah.
She's
She
wearing
was
like
Super
costumes.
Friends?
Yeah, and the Legion of Doom. All right, let's pull it on the screen.
that was
Pull it on the screen.
costume.
Show it on the screen. Show it on the screen, people. Let's see. We're
All
gonna,
right.
we're gonna screen share.
We'll screen share for you people.
Yeah, I'll show you what Cheetah is supposed to look like.
There's a reason why this doesn't show up anymore. Remember, this is the word where Aquaman talks to fish.
All right, yeah. So this is a one picture. Show.
Now, here is the Cheetah from Justice League the Comics. New 52 Cheetah. And this is the same type of Cheetah from the Rebirth era too. No, this is the modern Cheetah, basically.
This is scary. What am I looking at? It's like a weird cheetah person. No, weird.
Yeah, that.
Ugh, bad.
Wait. Here's the Rebirth Cheetah. Rebirth Cheetah. Here's the Rebirth Cheetah. And by the way, you can find us on YouTube. Here's the Rebirth Cheetah.
That is so weird. Stop. Put her back in a costume instead.
So I'm like, that's why I'm like, okay, that's another part that I kind of dug because it's like, that's the character. It could have done with a little more high fidelity CGI. But besides the point, that's the character.
I like Max.
I hated Maxwell Lord.
I love
that
Maxwell Lord.
A waste of it. That's not his character.
I didn't like.
They should have made him an original character.
Yeah, I guess they could have done that.
Because if you see him in Final Crisis, he joined the Justice League. He started off on the Justice League, but he was manipulating them the whole time to take over Brother Eye and then start the Infinite Crisis.
Oh, okay.
And then he's the one that Wonder Woman killed by snapping his neck. That's why I'm like, he didn't do that in the movie. That would have been so great.
Yeah. This is not the way.
One more scene I like when Wonder Woman is talking to everyone through the lasso of truth and like saying reject the lie. Okay,
like that?
I hate the dialogue. They use the music from Batman versus Superman in that scene, so I was like, yes,
that's good.
Junkie XL is alive, baby.
Yep.
But anyway, okay, so going back, so we now have all these iconic depictions of all these iconic live action characters. I mean, when I read comic books and I read these characters' lines, you know what's good? All of the DCEU actors are the voices for these characters. Sometimes I've vacillated between them and the JLU people. Like this Aquaman, I'm talking about the 90s hook hand Aquaman. I pretty much read as the JLU Aquaman because that was him.
Right, that was him.
But am I the one that's kind of hoping that in Aquaman 2 he gets a hook hand?
That'd be funny.
That would be cool, right?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Or it's like it's made of water, kind of. That'd be kind of cool.
Hook hand would be cool.
So now I've talked about your opinions on Batman vs Superman. I already know where we're going with this. Opinions on Justice League 2017.
Oh, I mean, when I saw it for the first time, I thought it was really good, and I watched it a second or third time also. I thought it was great when I first saw it.
Yeah, we all had that. It's a Justice League movie.
Yeah,
like
because it was like the Avengers, but with Batman.
And then Lyle and I had this moment because we come out of the movie, we're like, I don't know when he's this movie. It's actually pretty good. Yeah. And then we kind of, I kind of started thinking about, well, the plot was kind of confusing here and there, and then we were saying mother for no reason, right? Literally, in fact, Lyle turned to me in the movie theaters like, who is mother? Yeah, and I think it's a Gira, but they never. Here's the problem with the mother thing specifically, among many things in that movie. It would have made sense if they explained that Steppenwolf's mom's spirit in the mother box. Yeah. But they never did. Yeah. They just had him saying mother for no reason. Yeah. It was kind of strange. And by the way, the executives at Warner Brothers knew it was a crappy movie. This came out in an article, and they still released it. They had to at this point. They had to compete with Avengers. What they could have done is no. They shouldn't have done it because it came out with Thor Ragnarok. Yeah. What they should have done is delayed it. Let Snyder go through his family thing and just let him finish it. And then if it fails, you could fire him. The problem is that like a lot of the I saw someone else say this, that a lot of the DC movies that were reactionary to what the MCU is doing. The problem. Early on. Now it seems like they're actually doing their own stuff. But early on with the DCEU, it was very reactionary to the MCU, because people are saying, well, we probably have to have a Justice League. Yeah. Here's the thing, because Snyder ultimately was telling a Justice League storyline because the whole time. Yeah. Because first you established Superman, and then you saw little teases of Batman, the Wayne satellite. Yeah, exactly. And the Wayne fuel truck. Right. And then BVS straight up said, Justice League exists. Yeah. And then we get Justice League. And when I go Justice League, it's the theatrical version. Right. But I'm never getting rid of the DVD because when I have children, it will be an object lesson. wait and never stop tweeting to get rid of bad movies.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you. Back to 2017.
Yeah. So then we started to learn a lot of the stuff Zack was gonna put in the movie, like Darkseid, which Darkseid's really cool.
He's the Justice League villain of the time.
Yeah, the Super Friends villain. That's where I knew him from. He was really good in Super Friends.
I still can't believe that with all of the restrictions on Super Friends and all that stuff, you chose Darkseid.
Darkseid was awesome in Super Friends.
You chose this guy to
Yeah.
show up in Super Friends. I'm like,
he was great.
Even I saw the documentary about like the Batman animated series,
Oh, yeah.
and they get into the Super Friends, and I'm like, even they're like, we had a lot of trouble with Darkseid. They wanted to change the name because Darkseid.
Sunnyside.
Sunnyside. Dude with like in a sunflower.
Yeah,
suit.
yeah, he's got like hipster glasses. It's
hipster
like,
glasses,
yeah.
and then he's got like a rainbow coming with him as he flies.
Yeah, just like he's like, oh, you're
As his theme song is "Friendship is Magic."
Yeah, exactly. Sunnyside. We'll have to make like a drawing or something of what like his alter
Fan
ego
artist,
is.
you got this.
Sunnyside.
That'd be so great.
Oh man.
These Omega beams are just like rainbows.
I'm just imagining like Sunny and Cher in my head. I'm just thinking
The
that
Furies-
style.
The Furies are the My Little Ponies.
Yeah. Oh boy. I mean, we had a My Little Pony Transformers crossover.
I know.
So
I'm still like, what?
that works. That's excellent. I love that. That's
So
so you started telling me about it and how the stuff they left out was really interesting. You know, like Darkseid, like Cyborg. You know, so many storylines that were so much cooler. I thought the Superman was kind of rushed in the original movie. Also, like it felt kind of strange. The mustache was kind of like a never-ending joke. That
they should just have him with the mustache. Because
Yeah.
coming back from life, you could have him have like a beard.
yeah, there was a So knowing all those things, if it and then also hearing that Justice League was a failure, no news of a sequel, and like all the
And then reversing
everything, and just all the spin-offs getting canceled, like Batman, Deathstroke, a
Nightwing. There's gonna be a Nightwing movie.
All those movies getting canceled just really made me look back and say like Justice League was really a bad movie, and it was kind of just like it just felt like such a letdown because it felt like it was hype, but then just like everything kind of just fell apart.
Now, to be clear, I love Aquaman and Shazam. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, those were great movies.
Those
were great movies.
They fit the tone of that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so my turn. So I started with Man of Steel. That was really the Superman movie that I got really into because that was like the first Superman movie that I really could understand. I mean, my dad showed me the Reeve Superman movies, but I wasn't old enough to appreciate it yet. So anyway, I saw Batman versus Superman in the theaters. Actually, I drove through a rainstorm to get to the theater.
Nice.
So I saw it, loved it.
Yeah.
And this was the theatrical cut. This is before the DVD came out that had the
Right.
ultimate cut. So I was like, oh man, this is so great. Batman is beating the crap out of villains in a warehouse.
Yeah.
The Superman fight, and then the Wonder Woman theme comes on. And I'm like, okay, this guy has sold me. Then Justice League happened.
Mhm.
I walked in the theater, and like you, I was like, okay, that it wasn't the best DC movie, but it was
We had a group.
which-
we went with the
yeah, we
people.
went with the group.
It
Here's
was
the sad
tight. It
part.
was fun because we did that.
Justice League should have been the big event, like the
Yeah.
Avengers was.
Right.
Although the Avengers thing was kind of even larger because it was the first time we saw a team up with superhero movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to it. So then I started going to Twitter, and then like within a month, people were saying there's a Snyder Cut. So I'm like, okay. And then he starts posting the black and white photos of what's in the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And then when I hear where it was taken out, and then when I hear about all the problems behind the scenes and all that, I'm like, oh, this was way bad.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so then May 20th rolls around.
Right.
Because once again, Lad and I, previous to May 20th,
Yeah.
no idea, did not think this was going to happen because it's never happened before.
Mhm. Right.
Then HBO Max shows up and goes, why don't we just release Snyder Cut?
Yeah.
Then we're like, I mean, obviously I formed this podcast as a result of this, but then we're like, then we start getting more information on what's in the movie. Like we're going to see like Darkseid instead of Steppenwolf in the history lesson, which makes more sense.
Yeah. Steppenwolf. I mean, that was one thing I never cared for Steppenwolf.
And the
in
dumb
the first movie.
Steppenwolf look.
And he looked really weird. I didn't care anything for him because I knew Darkseid. I I even knew Desaad and Calabac, but I'd never heard of Steppenwolf before, and he looked so ugly. He looked so weird. I did not like
the comic
that.
book version looked better than the theatrical.
Right.
And then you see the Steppenwolf new design. I'm like, oh, this is way better.
Yeah, that looked awesome. I mean,
plus it's more in keeping with BVS when Lex Luthor's in the Kryptonian scout ship.
Yeah, it looked so much better. It fit the tone.
That's another thing, is that it was too jarring, because I'm like, you already established this is what Steppenwolf looks like.
They actually gave Steppenwolf in the parts of the new
movie.
In a
backstory,
yeah. I'll say that in the new movie, that I actually cared about him. Like, he actually had like a reason why he was doing this. You know, he wanted to get back home. He wanted to be accepted back by Darkseid. You know, for he had messed up before, and seeing like the emotions on his face, like how they did his face, people
like, come home.
Right. He has kind of like,
there was a meme of him with the eyes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Puppy eyes.
And no, they had like 6 months to do the CGI for this guy, and they made it look Thanos quality. That was Thanos quality.
It was really good. It was good. It was that quality.
His eyes tear up. And
yeah.
okay.
It was good.
On that note, opinions on Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, I mean that fixed like most of the problems I had with the original movie. Like, seeing Darkseid in it was really cool. Steppenwolf, I actually cared about him this time. Like, before I did,
they gave him a backstory.
He had a backstory. Like, he wasn't before. He was just like, I'm a evil person doing evil things.
I'm generic bad guy A.
Right. Like, it felt like, to me, it was like they want to save Darkseid for later, so they're just throwing some random villain in now.
And the only reference to Darkseid was like randomly he says for Darkseid.
Right. And so that's what it felt like to me. But now it actually felt like, oh, this is a villain that has a purpose, and he, you know, has a reason he's doing it, and we see Darkseid around, so they give us a little bit of that tease. They weren't holding back on us, which before it felt like they're holding back on us.
This Steppenwolf was more powerful than the old Steppenwolf, because he was taking on the Justice League before Superman showed up.
Yeah, no, he was cool. He visually looked cool.
The armor was like moving, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
The voice felt like it fit better. Like that deep voice felt good for his size. On the old Steppenwolf, just seeing that thin guy, it looks so weird. It was so weird. It looked like him. Yeah, it was so bad. I didn't like it.
How about the Darkseid voice?
The Darkseid voice was so great.
I have turned 10,000 worlds to dust looking for anti-life.
Yes, that was good. I loved all that. That felt like an actual plot was happening, like going, you know?
It felt like it made you feel like the way Steppenwolf is normally used in the comics. He's the advanced party who goes and paves the way for Darkseid. That's what he was doing. Right. That's what he always does in the comics. So I'm like, thank you, sir.
He felt just like a filler villain in the original version.
And for the love of God, did Darkseid feel threatening?
Yeah,
Darkseid. I was a little concerned, because this is the first time you're seeing him, and I'm like, and immediately when he shows up in that little FaceTime call thing, and then you hear his voice for the first time, I'm like, oh yes, this is Darkseid.
That was good.
And then so continue on.
So what else? You know, that was great. When I first saw the Justice League, I didn't really like the whole like underwater area, you know, like that, whatever, where the prisoners and Victor's dad was held hostage, you know, like the
you mean the harbor thing,
the harbor tunnel thing. I didn't like the whole, like, I just felt like it wasn't exciting. And even in the Snyder Cut version, I was hoping that was not going to be in the movie, but they made it more interesting with the fight that was going on.
More fights.
There was more fight to it, so it felt better. I kind of was hoping there was going to be some other like battle or something like that.
We actually got the line from the trailer. Don't worry, relax, Alfred. I'll take it from here.
I like that.
Do I know you?
Yeah.
It was good to see all of those scenes. It's like Cyborg going to Batman. Heard about you. Didn't think you were real. I'm real when it's useful.
Yeah. I liked seeing some of the camaraderie with the characters together.
Yeah. Immediately, I'm like, I saw that from the first trailer. Finally, we're seeing the trailer shots.
Yeah. There's a difference between making everyone comedic relief. That's
making everyone funny.
Right. Making everyone funny, comedic relief, as opposed to having camaraderie. And
this made it funny because they still, this movie joked.
Right. But it wasn't like it, but before it felt like they were trying to make Batman a joke. Like he was just like,
something is definitely bleeding. Yeah. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Superman shows up and Batman goes, oh
yeah.
I'm like, what the? I don't not hate you. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah. There's like, and
let's not forget Cyborg's amazing backstory.
Right. Cyborg felt so
criminal that they took that out.
Cyborg literally could have been replaced with like a cardboard cutout in the original movie. Like,
why are you here?
Like, it was literally could have just been a robot, like full robot C-3PO or something. Like, he was so felt so unimportant in that movie. Like, oh, he lost like his family and he lost his like robot arm and everything.
They never even showed it in the theatrical cut. So I'm like, why should I care about this dude?
Wait, they didn't show how he got into accident and everything?
Nope.
That was
Snyder Cut.
I forgot about that. That he just shows up and he's already like a cyborg.
Nothing for Cyborg except his scenes in the movie.
Right.
Except his actual modern days didn't show anything about him.
Right. Like, we don't need a backstory for Flash because it's just like he's still a human. He just can run fast. He got his powers somehow. But
at least both versions of the movie had like the basic thing that like I challenge the Speed Force. They explained it.
Something like that. But Cyborg being like a robot, I feel like I need some explanation on how this happened to him. You know,
exactly.
Like Flash is like, oh, he got powers, like maybe some chemicals spilled on him.
Aquaman is a dude who surfs apparently.
Right. We've seen Superman's origin. Wonder Woman's like an Amazonian. Batman's Batman.
Speaking of Batman's origin, here's why. Here's another reason to like the Matt Reeves Batman movie. The director straight up says, "I'm not showing the Batman origin because you've seen it 80 times." I'm like, thank you.
You think his origin story in his third movie, like Spider-Man?
That'd be great.
Come
on.
Right,
back to this.
So, Cyborg, his role in the Snyder Cut was so impressive. Like, he actually felt like a central part of the story. Yeah, like I felt like he was like almost not the main character but he was a focal character.
He kind of was because Zack said Cyborg is the heart of this movie.
No, he was. If all the characters felt more fleshed out, like we have the Trinity, obviously they were already had a lot of screen time.
All of the like not Trinity characters felt like they actually belonged there because in the theatrical cut you could have just taken them out and just made a Trinity movie.
The Trinity characters were fleshed out; those were fine. But the non-Trinity, you know, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg, they felt underutilized. Aquaman they threw around for a few jokes, but really Flash had like nothing. He really did. Like,
he moved the Russian family. Dostoevsky.
He was like awkward, which was kind of funny, but it was a little like there was nothing else to him. And then Cyborg was not used at all. And so when they did and Steppenwolf also, we said like he felt filler. When they did the Snyder Cut, they fixed all those problems. Like Aquaman had a fleshed out thing. Like he was like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Like, and also Cyborg, you know, he's been through a lot. He lost his, you know, family. He lost his father. Like he actually felt like he had emotions. He wasn't just a jock guy making jokes all the time.
Booyah.
Booyah. Right.
Cyborg does not say in the comics.
Yeah. And Flash, you know, he had, you know, he's comedic and awkward still, which was, you know, it was fun, but he actually had like cool action moments. You know,
we'll talk about the ending in the second.
The end scene was incredible. Like how did Flash even have a moment where he really used his speed in the movie? Like when he ran and touched the cube.
Not in the previous movie.
In the originally, the only thing he did where it was like they stopped.
He ran and touched the cube,
which I thought was so boring. That was like I didn't really care.
It was better in the Snyder Cut too. Oh my gosh! I'm like, because here's what they did. They even had the cube coming out of the water to show time.
Yeah, that it was so like so lame that he uses power like he pushed some enemies out of the way and defeated them, but they didn't show you what happened. It just like boop, boop, it happened. You know, like SpongeBob saying like, "You wanted me to see? Like, I'm gonna run over to that rock real quick, and you'll see how I do it."
You want to see me do it again?
You see me do it again? That's what it felt like. Flash didn't do anything.
Speaking of the harbor scene, that had that fantastic scene where like a parademon is shooting at Flash, and he's like,
What it actually. I felt the motion Flash was doing, and the final scene was insane. We'll get to that in a moment, but just
the scene where like all that rubble is falling, and then he just grabs it all.
Yeah, like seeing Flash in slow motion. Like I feel like they didn't even use Flash before. And then Cyborg actually has, you see his backstory, his whole story with his father was so central. Seeing him in the laboratory, losing his father, so much. And the boxes scene where he gets that resolve, where it's like he's.
I'm not broken and I'm not alone.
Right. Like that whole thing was so good. Like they were on equal footing, and Steppenwolf, of course. My mom recently asked me, why do people like the Snyder Cut so much? Because actually, I don't know if I told you this story. So we're walking so my dad and I went to go see Spider-Man again. I'm walking in, I'm wearing the Snyder Cut hoodie right there. Yeah. And the girl who's like taking thank you, who's taking the tickets and giving me the stuff goes, Snyder Cut all the way. Yeah. My mom asked me, why do people like the Snyder Cut so much? And I said, ultimately it comes down to this. Every character, and this is something that is a challenge in superhero movies. Mm-hmm. Our Avengers did this, Avengers 1, but every character got a moment. Yeah. Every character got their moment to shine. Mm-hmm. Like
Flash, and then okay, so transition to Superman. Now here's the thing. First off, explain what the hell the mother boxes are and do.
Yeah.
And as opposed to being like MacGuffins.
Right.
And then they explain why they never activated beforehand because they were afraid of Superman. And then so they revived Superman before after receiving this vision of the future, which I want to see so badly, which links to BVS and that Superman's holding Batman's cowl. You see a dead Kilowog. So anyway, they have sort of the fight with Superman, but it's got more scenes like Flash running into Aquaman, which was hilarious, where he's like pointing at him. He's like, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah, that was good.
And there's the one scene that was in the Whedon cut, but actually turned to be a Snyder thing, was when Flash is running and Superman just turns.
That was
and then Flash's face. He was like, "Oh, that was the greatest thing ever."
Because like I think me and a lot of other people thought like, "Oh, Flash is really fast. He can take him." And then all of a sudden, when Superman starts tracking him in fast time, it's like,
"Oh my god,
shoot, Superman is a lot stronger than I thought."
And he's fighting him, and I'm like, okay, that was actually really cool. So I like that. I'm so glad that was Snyder. So anyway, so they find, and then they actually have Lois Lane show up more organically than, well, she's our big guns. No, she was moving on, and she turns and sees them floating.
Yeah.
Then they leave. Oh, also we got Batman blocking heat vision with his super gauntlets.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which was dope. And then a fantastic line in the Batcave where Wonder Woman goes, "Maybe we should make a lasso in black."
In black.
So I was like, yes,
I like that.
Batman Begins reference.
Alfred was so OP in the
I
Snyder
love
Cut.
Alfred in this. Alfred's way better in this one.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
First of all, I love Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I think he did a great job.
You mean Robert Downey Jr.?
I know that was kind of funny.
He looks just like him.
Then we get an extended scene of Superman in the farmhouse, which was better. It's him. It's him finally coming to terms with who he is as a hero. Yeah. There's no like CGI lip that makes him look really scary. We get the line from the trailer that says, "I'll take that as a yes." What? The ring. Like, yes. We're getting more of the trailer scenes. That's what I'm getting to. Which I'm like, yes.
I felt sad. I felt I didn't see like any of the trailer scenes. Like when Cyborg stopped the police car from crashing into the police officer. That was cool.
You should probably move.
Right. That was good. And then all of a sudden, like it wasn't in the movie.
And then the scene where he gets the black suit, which it's the black suit. It looks gorgeous.
Right.
He takes off. And here's the thing: people were always that's one critique of Man of Steel was Jonathan Kent telling him you have to hide who you are and everything. First off, that's from the comics. Right. And second off, then you finally see when he emerges in the suit, Jonathan Kent saying, "I'm so proud of you, son. You need to show them who you are. It's time."
Yeah.
He says it's time. So it's like, go save the world.
Right.
It's like he finally got that from his fathers were both saying the same thing, because previously they're speaking kind of I don't say antagonistically towards each other, but it was more like
viewpoints.
Yeah, be yourself, don't be yourself.
Right.
Now it's like, be yourself.
And I forgot about that. Yeah.
And he flies up and he assumes the Christ pose.
Yeah. Did they actually bring the father actor back to voice lines, or was it just reusing
I think
lines?
it was. Do you mean for the reshoots, or originally when they went to Justice League?
When they originally did Justice League.
Yeah, they did.
They did. Okay, yeah.
Because
like when they filmed that scene,
the scene when he's walking through the ship,
Yeah.
those are all lines from Man of Steel.
Oh, okay.
When he emerges in the black suit, that's new stuff.
Okay, so they actually got the actor back to do that. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So then we get the scene where he shows up in Alfred and he goes, "He said you'd come. Now let's hope you're not too late." Which, by the way, that scene
It was
and
Green
the scene where
Lantern.
he's walking through the Kryptonian ship were in the deleted scenes of the Whedon cut.
Yeah.
Only they didn't have the two fathers speaking. What's kind of funny is that you know how in the Snyder cut they have the red suit just hanging there and then it goes back in the pod. In the other movie, it's reversed.
Yeah, the black.
I love that. So anyway,
they should have had the underwear suit also on one of the pet on the.
And he's like, "No,
what? He should put the underwear on.
It looks stupid."
Can we get the hashtag underwear cut of?
That would be hilarious.
You can Photoshop it.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to what I was saying there, then we get the way better scene of fighting in the Russian town, which, by the way, they explain in the movie that the air is toxic, so there's not going to be a random Russian family.
There's families there. They're hanging out. Someone has to save them.
Right, Chernobyl.
Yeah.
All right. Then there's this fantastic scene, which is the most badass thing I think in the movie. One of the most badass things in the movie. Parademons breach a Batman's airship.
Yes.
The lights turn on and the machine guns just cut them down. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, tranquilize them down. Yes. Sleep
tactically subdued them.
Tactically subdue them. I'll take that. Yeah.
Then we have this cool like Batmobile chase scene.
Yes.
And then we get the cool scene where like the League has that slow-mo like pose scene that's basically an F you to Joss Whedon.
That was really.
And then this was a scene where the lad was like, oh no, wait. Where Aquaman finally goes, my man.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew that was gonna be a Snyder thing. There's no way Whedon's that clever to make that. That just screams Snyder.
I loved that fight scene. It felt so much better
because
no red sky.
Yes,
no red sky.
There was no reason to have a red sky.
It was
the
so
sky
bad.
is never that red.
It was so bad. I couldn't understand the fight that was happening. When I watched this version, it was so much better.
It's at night.
They showed us different scenes of the fight. They probably clipped it when Whedon did it. Like I feel like we saw a few more scenes.
Super saturated.
Yeah, it was so much better. It was so much better.
Here's the thing in the Whedon cut too. Everything is so bright.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then there's more fight scenes where we have the scene where Aquaman is throwing his trident in slow motion. There's way more slow mo in this.
Yeah.
Then we actually have Flash having a purpose. He's running around to charge up so we can like throw Cyborg into the Unity and break it apart.
Right.
First off, they actually explain what the hell the Unity is too.
Yeah.
Then the League fights Steppenwolf, which again was super dope. Then they get almost defeated. Steppenwolf's about to kill Cyborg. And then Superman shows up.
Yeah.
And then that one scene, in 30 seconds, they answer why the mother boxes were afraid of Superman. Because here's why it's so effective. Steppenwolf was kicking the asses of the Justice League.
Yeah, he was
like severely. Superman shows up. He's like, that's why he's like, not impressed. Yeah. Boom.
Right.
Then just completely lays Steppenwolf out. To the point where he's beating him into space, beating him down. He's burning off his horn. Yeah. And I'm like, this is way, even Lad and I, when the axe comes down, we were endgaming. Yeah. We were like Andrew Garfield showing up in No Way Home.
I can't believe they got rid of that scene.
He just floats
so
down
they could
and goes,
say,
I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice.
That was so bad.
Here's the other thing that's not real, that's stupid about that scene. So when Superman's established that when he flies, he had like sonic boom.
Yeah.
He didn't even do that in that movie. He just shows up. I'm like, how did no one see this?
Right. That line is so, it's supposed to be funny, but it's so not funny. And the fact that they cut out the scene that was so epic.
Comes on the shoulder. It clangs too. Right. He's like, not impressed.
Who wouldn't like that? They had to cut a stupid joke there. Dude, that's the difference between making like funny all the time and having a movie with camaraderie and jokes in it that
with appropriate times for comedy.
Right. Not just throwing in random jokes every single second you can. That's not a good. Superman just came back. You don't need to throw a joke in the first.
It should be epic. This guy's back.
Yeah.
And then here's the best part. Snyder makes it so even with Superman, it's not enough because the Unity creates. Barry is shot by the most lucky parademon ever.
No, that guy was like Sniper.
Gary the Parademon, and then he's immediately killed by Batman. But
he should be recruited as Green Arrow.
And then Barry's injured, but he's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I just had the wind knocked down me. I'm all good. And then you see him was like burnt.
Yeah.
And then Superman is still like punching the crap out of Steppenwolf, and you're seeing like shock waves coming out. And I'm like, oh, this is so dope.
That was pretty wild that they actually made it that they lost.
He just keeps and Superman just keeps punching Steppenwolf, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then the thing explodes. Then we get the awesome Flash scene. That, by the way, was one of the first things to be taken out.
I know.
I'm like, who sees that? Apparently, the executives couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
He's going back in time. What's not to understand?
Yeah.
We get that awesome scene, which I think is better than anything the CW did. You see the world reforming around him. He's saying, make your own future, make your own past. It's all right there. Dad, if you can hear me, I want you to know your son was one of the best of best.
Yeah.
We see like the Justice League reforming, literally reforming. As a Flash fan, dude, what were your thoughts on that scene?
It was so great. You're right. It is a pretty impressive compared to stuff we've seen on CW. It was really great. It was exactly what I wanted to see Flash do, and I hope we see. I don't need time travel all the time, but just see Flash running like that. Like cool.
And seeing the world like reforming itself.
That was so
that was the other cool part, because like the music too is fantastic. But seeing the world like reverse and go back to normal, whenever he takes a step, you can hear like a heartbeat.
Yeah, that was good.
Then he throws Cyborg, and we get that awesome Cyborg scene where he sees his old self. He's like, we can make you whole again. He's like, I'm not broken, I'm not alone. He tears it apart.
Yeah.
Then we get Steppenwolf stabbed through the chest by Aquaman, punched by Superman, and then beheaded by Wonder Woman.
Man, I thought Wonder Woman doesn't kill people.
I told you she does. Lands at Darkseid's feet, and Darkseid just crushes the head. And then we get the awesome thing. And then we get the meme that became the SnyderVerse meme. Ready the Armada. We will use the old ways. Because immediately after that article came out, when they said when they're not going to continue it, people were like, ready the tweets. We will use the old ways. Because it works. So everyone's like, okay. Then we get that awesome scene that's like that I actually have an homage to in my shelf with like my Snyder Cut action figures. What I did here is I arranged them in the same order as that camera pans over the Justice League.
Yeah.
And then we get that awesome music, which actually gets me teary-eyed every time I can watch it. I've cried 3 times in this movie. The Superman Return, because as a massive Superman fan that's coming from the Whedon cut, I'm like, oh. And I'd want to see Superman completely beat the crap out of someone. Then the Flash scene.
Yeah, that was good.
Because that was just, as a DC fan, this movie was a love letter to DC fandom. And then that scene where they're all like this, because as a Justice League fan, I'm like, I was a little disappointed that they didn't have the original Justice League song, but I know Snyder wanted to have his own thing. By the way, here's another thing I don't think you know. Junkie XL, who did the theme song, he already had a soundtrack for Justice League, which he did when the Snyder Cut was authorized. He threw out all the old stuff that even he made. Really? Decided, I'm going to make this fresh.
Wow.
He made all that in 6 months. It takes a much longer, but somehow he made great soundtrack. Then we have the epilogue, which shows the League doing this whole thing. We finally get Henry Cavill doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, thank you. Then it goes into Lex Luthor being broken out of prison. Deathstroke shows up, but this time it's exposing Bruce Wayne's identity, which would set up the Batman movie. Then we get the nightmare scene. Then Martian Man. Oh, that's another thing. Martian Manhunter.
That was fun.
When I saw it with Tyler, Tyler came over and we watched it. This was about my 5th time seeing it. I've now seen it 7 times. Thank you. But he was like, Martian Manhunter's in this movie because he, like us, grew up on the Justice League cartoon.
Martian Manhunter was great.
And then, by the way, that's supposed to be Green Lantern. And he was going to put Green Lantern in there, but Warner Brothers said, but we're having a Green Lantern movie, and fans might get confused. I'm like, but you told the multiverse.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's basically saying Darkseid's coming. But anyway, so that's our thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League and really the SnyderVerse. I know we went kind of long on that, but overall thoughts, I think if they continue this, they have it, particularly when the MCU is very chaotic right now with all these reshoots and everything. Warner should be definitely capitalizing on this and saying we're doing the Snyderverse, because you saw the public response to the Snyder Cut. Warner thought that that everyone hated. Look what happened here.
No,
you had like Brad Paisley going, "Please restore the Snyderverse."
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. So, do you agree with me that if they do this right, that if they were to say we're going to do the Snyderverse right now, while we plan out and get our other movies for production, we're going to use that as basically a like appetizer,
right?
To compete with the MCU now.
That'd be so much fun. I don't know when it's gonna happen.
By the way,
hopefully one day.
I'm excited for the Flash test screen, because now that people have seen the Snyder Cut, they probably don't know that it's supposed to exist in another world. So they're gonna be like, "Why isn't Superman in a black suit?"
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna address that.
Because that's gonna be the key thing, and I guarantee you it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm telling you, here's how you know it canonizes the Snyder Cut. If Superman shows up in a black suit at the end of the movie, because at the end of the movie it's gonna be the new reality. And in the movie, if we see Superman in a black suit, we're good. Or they can have a scene where it's like going through the multiverse, and then you see Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah,
it's like Flash shows up at the not impressing. He goes, "That's way better. I like this.
Yeah,
that's so badass." But anyway, final thoughts on the Snyderverse.
No, it's they've done he's told such an intriguing story with it. Like it makes you want to know more, building an impressive character arc between the 6 Leaguers. Without even having their individual movies included, because we haven't done it, but they made
it's a 4-hour movie, so we can kind of right. And also streaming, he can make he doesn't have to take anything out now, because he doesn't have to worry about theatrical. He can just split up into chapters like he did it now, and then there you go.
No, that's what I'm thinking. It was really good.
What would be great is that when he completes Justice League Part 2 and puts it out, he releases a massive movie that's 1, 2, and 3 combined.
Yeah.
All the 4-hour cuts, it was like 4, 8, 12 hours of Justice League content.
Oh man.
That would be great. I could see Zack Snyder doing that, also in black and white. Anyway, that's our thoughts in the Snyderverse. If we're wrong, you can go ahead and tell us at any of our things. All right, like, comment, subscribe for more Snyderverse content, Star Wars content, Halo content, X-Men content. It helps us really it helps us figure out what you guys like, what you guys don't like. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the Snyderverse, and we will see you guys next week. Stay heroic, everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya.